EDIFY means to enlighten, encourage, and uplift individuals, intellectually, morally, and spiritually. That's exactly what our EDIFY podcast guests do, as they share practical wisdom on living our faith in public. I'm Mary Fiorito. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the EDIFY podcast. Our guest today is Dr. Jennifer Nolan. She is a neuroscientist and the founder of the Catholic Polytechnic University. Welcome, Jennifer. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Mary.
So you have a PhD from the University of California, Irvine in psychology. So tell me first, what led you to that area of study?
Well, it's actually from the Department of Cognitive Science. So I'm not a therapist in any way, shape, or form, but...
So like brain science?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was trained at the Institute for Brain Aging and Dementia there, and my specialization in graduate school was the intersection of insulin resistance with Alzheimer's disease. And
interesting.
It was very early on. But later I ended up doing brain plasticity research and
so explain that for listeners who might not know that.
Right. So brain plasticity, very simply put, is the ability for the brain to kind of reorganize itself and recover functions that we previously thought was impossible to do. And now we know that it is more possible to do.
And so what would an example of that be? Like,
well, if you have a stroke, chances are you're given a certain protocol to follow in recovery therapy of maybe an hour, 3 times a week of therapy. If you push the brain in very intensive ways, the research shows that you will recover a lot more function.
Interesting.
So if you do an intensive program, we had some patients recover up to 17 years post-stroke, and they don't really recover fully 100%, but they do.
Progress.
Yes, and they recover function. So you're basically recruiting areas of the brain that weren't damaged to all of a sudden take over those functions.
So tell me a little bit about how your Catholic faith, influenced your years of study. Were there any things that, as a scientist, about the Church's teaching that made you question the Church's teaching? Did everything always line up, or?
It's an interesting kind of journey. That I was raised as a cradle Catholic. However, got very deep into it in my early years, my teen years. College kind of ventured off a little bit. But through graduate school, I don't know that there's that much intersection between faith and science from a secular point of view. So going to a secular school, it was really very separate than what I preferred.
Right.
And so there wasn't the opportunity to really analyze what I was doing in terms of my faith. However, as Brother Guy Consolmagno, the Vatican astronomer, often says, the more you do research and learn about the created, the more we learn about our creator.
Oh.
And so the beauty of science and the beauty of research really just drives the mind toward our creator and how magnificent he is and how much he had created us in down to the cell, down to the atom, and created beauty in nature down to the cell and down to the atom for our benefit and for our delight.
Oh, I love that. I love that, looking at it that way. It's though as you speak of brain plasticity and then our Catholic faith, I know that there are studies that involve nuns, involve women religious, and the very, very low rate of memory dementia and Alzheimer's among them. And I know one of the studies that I read shows that because every night when you do an examination of conscience, you have to recall your whole day. And often they did journal writing as well but just part of, their daily commitments as religious. Have you seen any of those, or how prayer impacts the brain?
I am familiar with some of those nun studies that are so beautiful, where the nuns will actually donate their brains to science after they pass.
Right.
And what's interesting is that it was very clear to the researchers that even though some of those nuns who passed away donated their brains and they found those Alzheimer's plaques and tangles that are the sign of Alzheimer's disease in those brains, and yet their cognitive functioning didn't seem to decline.
Yes.
And so really what they were doing was they were recruiting these neurons that were unaffected to do things like find their keys. So it's, it just really goes to show you have to use it or lose it.
Right.
That's really what it comes down to. You have to keep learning, keep growing, keep exploring the world, keep exploring our faith, keep that learning, growing process in order to keep your brain alive and functioning. It's really what it comes down to.
It always shows you too that, we're fearfully and wonderfully made, and that, and that those little daily activities that lead us to holiness also contribute to our health, to our mental health, and to our physical health as well.
Right.
So, well, you are now the co-founder of the Catholic Polytechnic University, which is a new Catholic STEM school. So tell me, how does a psychologist go about starting a STEM school? Because that's my first question. And with all of the different educational options available, what particular niche does Catholic Polytechnic University fill where was the need that you felt that you had to meet by starting this new school?
Well, it was a matter of my own children wanted to be scientists and engineers, and so where do I send them? And the more I talked with other families in our very devout Catholic community in Los Angeles, it was still a conundrum. Where do I send our kids? Because we Catholics have done liberal arts educations in such beautiful, amazing ways for so long. But to have the possibility of having like a Catholic Caltech or a Catholic MIT, that's really what we're trying to build, is something that overtly rejoins faith and science, something that offers the highest level of science and technology degrees to our Catholic students, so that then they can have the highest demand careers and have good paying jobs so that they can pay for large Catholic families. This focus on science and technology, I think, is so important for our daily use, for our church to grow, for our children to grow in. And so it's not so much me being a psychologist. I'm more of a cognitive scientist anyway, but I was a professor. And so as knowing the academic world, I just felt the Lord saying, okay, this is the vision of what I want you to create. And so the vision is really combining science and tech degrees with deep Catholicism, with business, with pro-life and pro-American values, so that we can send our kids and our young Catholics out into the world to do science and research and technology that is in line with our Catholic values, to exert an ethical influence on the direction that science and technology is going, because I really think that really cries out right now for an ethical influence. And so to be able to go forward with these good careers, knowing the tenets of our Catholic faith, being steeped in Catholicism and the joy of Catholicism, and to see, okay, my AI professor is in adoration now. Oh, and that's my blockchain professor, and they're in daily mass. Or there's my bioethics professor over there, praying. Yes, exactly. This is what I want. It's something I lovingly refer to as Catholic immersion, like you would have Spanish language immersion. I really want that as part of the university, so that the students see how joyful a life can be in Catholicism, to have that true presence of Christ in their lives.
No, and as I'm thinking of it, that really is a niche that has to be filled. I was just speaking with friends about this new trade school, Catholic trade school that's opening up in Ohio, a university. So you'll get some philosophy and theology, you'll get some business ethics, but you'll also learn a practical trade. That's a terrific void that's being filled. And you used to get your formation at your parish, or you had your formation in your family or at your high school, and those structures, I think, are really largely gone. So, to have a school that's going to give you both, so that you're not separating your faith from your work life, and that you can learn to sanctify your work. Even, it doesn't matter what that work is, but, the faith will be sort of a core component of your learning. Absolutely. Oh, that's just a terrific idea. I'm so So where is the school located? Did you have a physical location yet?
Yes. So we have a facilities use agreement in place with a local Catholic boys high school. That's
Great.
a STEM, so science, technology, engineering, math. It's a STEM high school. So we have a location on loan to us. We have an application for licensing in the state of California to be a university. We're hoping that that's going to be looked at sometime in early 2023. The earliest we would probably start would be fall of 2023 with a bachelor's and a master's in computer science.
Okay.
And we have all of the 70 syllabi already written, all the policies in place. Everything's ready to go. We just need the licensing from California. And we have an amazing team of people. They're so amazing. They are devout Catholics, 25 devout Catholics and scientists from across the country who have come together to start this.
Well, tell me what you mean when you use the phrase tech ethics, because I've seen that in some of your things. Yeah. Many people, you equate ethical issues with medicine or with, moral theology, but not with technology. Tell me what you mean by that.
So technology is such a growing early, almost in its infancy kind of field. Really, we're so early on. And bioethics has been so well studied and so well established. So it is up to us really to start laying the groundwork for what is ethical in the technical fields. What is ethical in AI? What is ethical in blockchain technology, Bitcoin? What is ethical? And what would be aligned with our Catholic faith? What would not be aligned with our Catholic faith? So I think that these lines need to be drawn in the sand so that companies and employees can step forward with confidence, knowing that someone has reviewed all these policies, knows the Catholic faith, and said, okay, this isn't so good for you to be involved with, yet this is great for you to be involved with. This is a good direction for your company. This is not so good ethically. So I think that that foundation really needs to be laid out. And so that's one of our goals is to start laying the groundwork. It's going to be a long process, but just to start that.
Right. And I think even, at some of the most prestigious four-year colleges or universities, ethics used to be sort of a mandated, or at least everybody knew, you have to take one kind of class. And I don't even think that's offered anymore in some schools.
It is still in the curriculum. However, I think it needs to be more clearly delineated.
Okay, that makes perfect
and applied.
Sense. Yeah. Well, I went and looked up your mission statement. So in your mission statement, you say that you wish to be a strong voice in a world that often suppresses religious expression. So tell me, what has been your own personal experience of teaching at the college level? Did you find yourself self-censoring? Is that why? Okay. Is that why you came up with this particular part of your mission statement?
So yes, there are many, many times, especially when I was teaching in secular universities, that you have to leave the faith component out, and because it's not always appropriate to bring up. However, people usually saw my cross, and I had students walk up to me and say, because I usually wear a crucifix, I had students walk up to me and after class and say, "You're a Christian. How could you also be a scientist? I don't understand that." And so that opens up a whole area that you can have that dialogue with. But it's not always appropriate in the classroom. And so to have a university where the professors are, as our other Catholic universities provide, to have a university that focuses on science and technology and can point out to those students, okay, look at this from a Catholic point of view. Look at this from an ethical point of view. Look at what we're doing here. Look at what research is doing here. And to see it from that Catholic overview, that of even the eyes of God, how God might see this. And I think we'll just open up an entire realm for our students that will bring them to a much higher level, and then they can be leaders. That's the whole goal.
Of course.
Build leaders, because we need leaders in science and tech speaking the tongues of STEM. We need them to be the disciples of the day, going out into the science and tech companies, going out into the science and tech fields, so that they can then bring others Catholics and they can enlighten other people and ultimately get more people into heaven. That's the whole goal.
That's right. Of course, that's everyone's goal. Yes. Whether you are the plumber or you are the IT manager. Well, how would you advise Catholic parents and even students who are now in the process of choosing a college or a university? That's now that school's going to be starting up again soon. You're going to have all those college visits starting now that COVID is over. What would be your personal advice to them?
Oh, I love this question because I love telling people you work backwards. That's the big thing. So
what do you mean by that?
When you have a high school student, and I'd say even middle school, junior high would be an appropriate age, but especially in high school, have them do career testing at that point. Have them do their personality tests for careers. Tests? Not so much aptitude, but career personality testing. That'll guide them to certain directions in their careers.
Okay.
So once they pick a general career area, then in high school, they need to go to Indeed.com, CareerBuilder.com, all of these career websites. Spend the time, spend a summer weeding through all of the careers out there. Go to Glassdoor, find out what the salaries are, find out what the geographic areas are. And so you're having a high school student picking a career for them that would be appropriate for them.
Right.
And then, so if you know the ultimate goal of the career, then you pick the major for that career. Then you pick the best college for that career. Then you pick the best internships for that career.
Okay.
So in essence, you're actually working backwards in order to be the best qualified candidate for that career.
But what if you're unsure? You don't know what you want to be.
Well, that's why I refer to the testing sites, because they're very well developed and they can really guide your student or guide the potential student in the right direction. And maybe they don't just pick one, maybe they pick 5 that might be of interest to them.
Right.
But that way, and I say this because I did it backwards. I did it the wrong way. I thought, well, I'm kind of interested in this, and psychology sounds interesting to me. So I just kept going forward. And then, oh gosh, there are no jobs you can get with a psych bachelor's degree. I guess I have to go on. So you really have to look at the end goal and then work backwards. Right. That's so important.
That's going to require a little bit more planning and thinking, but at the end, you really you wind up at the best school for you.
Yes, and this is your life. I mean, you really have to do planning and thinking because so many college students end up at the end of college paying a lot of money, spending a lot of time, and guess what? They hate their jobs or they hate their careers. Oh, guess what? They're not even doing anything related to what their major was. Happens so often. So invest that time, invest that research now so that it's well planned out, well thought out. And maybe you even have a plan B and a plan C. But you have places to go and it's clear.
Oh, well, that's really good advice. I wish someone had shared that with me when I was looking with my first 2 kids. So we did pray that God would, direct our steps and would give us, inspirations when we needed them. So, well, Jennifer, thank you so much for your time today and for being on the EDIFY podcast. You are absolutely working to edify other Catholics through your work, and all the best and God's blessings on Catholic Polytechnic.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help and this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you for listening. To make it easier for you to listen to future EDIFY podcast episodes, please make sure you subscribe over at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Thank you.